Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia and this is the summary for the day of 1361 for the 15th of November. I pressed the wrong button and the last recording was messed up. So I have to re-record again. So anyway, Komar Front. So this is the Ukraine war, or the slow motion operation in Ukraine. So over at the Kherson front, the Russians reported shelling at Pridniprovsky. Ukrainians mentioned Russians attack towards Antonovsky Bridge. This is over here. Nothing special about this. This is becoming pretty routine. So yeah, so that's just is what it is. We move on further to the, let me check. Yeah, it's recording this time around. And we move on to the Zaporizhia front. Over in the Kayamsky and Orikhiv sector, the Russian Defense Ministry just now announced the capture of Mala Tomashka. Oh my freaking god. Out of the blue. We don't even have much reports about fighting at Mala Tomashka. The Ukrainians hardly mention it. The Russians themselves also didn't mention it quite a bit. And suddenly there's an announcement of capture. I don't know how that comes about. Fighting is reported at Orikhiv. Fighting is at Stepove. Stepnohurst and Plavny, with Ukrainians taking back some grounds over in Stepnohurst. But the main push for the Russians is still in the direction of Primorsky. So that is still the main operation along the Dnieper River. This is a question mark. We will wait for more information about this Mala Tomashka situation. Otherwise, static line. So let's see how this goes. We move on to the HULYAIPOLE sector. So this is HULYAIPOLE or HULYAIPOLE. So this is so in this HULYAIPOLE sector, we have fighting reported over in HULYAIPOLE. There is fighting reported at Zatishaya, which also marked by the Russians advancing. There is this very exciting development. So many people so excited in the frontline changes report about this push to Zatishaya. I have no idea why. Fighting is reported at Vasily, Zeleny High, and Malinivka. So there's this big push here. Russian forces confirmed to have captured Rivnopilia geolocation, confirming it. Russian Defense Ministry also announced it, while the push is now moving towards Vavarivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. There's also still fighting reported at Privyone, Krasnyhersky, Zlahoda somehow, and shelling is reported at Trnovate. Vishneve and Verbove is mentioned as well. This is part of the southern part of the Komar Front. So the so the main push right now is towards HULYAIPOLE to create the eastern wall around HULYAIPOLE. This push is now, I think, the main push, as well as from Rivnopilia moving towards Vavarivka. The idea is to cut off the northern route to HULYAIPOLE. So these are the main push. I think the rest of this is more consolidation purposes, with the Russians trying to consolidate the position. The push towards from Danilivka is not happening at this moment. So that's all from the HULYAIPOLE sector of the front line. We move further up north to the Komar Front. So in this area here, the Russian forces attacked Veliko Mikhailivka with the claims of capture around Sosnivka. Fighting is reported at Vorony. Fighting is reported at Zeleny High, Ivanivka. Yalta is mentioned by the Ukrainians, as well as Dashne. Filia is mentioned, and there is geolocation confirming the Russians have taken more grounds inside Novopalivka. So the Russians have continued to advance in Novopalivka. And so the main battle right now is at Novopalivka. This is the main action here. And there is action over in Veliko Mikhailivka as the Russians on the verge of entering into it. But the battle for Novopalivka, I think, is the one that is currently ongoing. There might be a battle for Ivanivka. I believe the Ukrainians may have counterattack, but this is just my gut feeling. It's not reported, but it's just gut feeling, which is why there's fighting reported at Ivanivka. The rest of these sectors are all pretty, just operational. Just like, there might be remnants here and there, or the Ukrainians are just saying stuff. Shelling is reported at Porovsky. very far away. You probably can't see it, not important. And that's all from the Komar Front. We move on to the Pokrov Front. In the Pokrov Front, we have fighting reported over in Molodetsk, Udashne, towards Serhievka, which is a bit of the unusual. Fighting is reported Kotliny. Currently, battle for Pokrov continues. There's fighting at the industrial zone on the east and towards Rivne. There's mention of Novobalivka. Russian forces continue to attack from the south of Minograd. Probably from the north as well. There's Novoekonomichne as usual, mentioned by the Ukrainians. Shovony Liman is mentioned, Rodinsky, Sotkertsky, Dorozhny, and Sofievka is mentioned. So this part of Konstantinivka front fighting at Rusinya. So the battle for Pokrov continue as well as Minograd. This is still the main push. The Russians have not taken Pokrov. There's flanking operation around Rodinsky. This is still ongoing, but the Ukrainians seems to be very successful at preventing the Russians doing the flanking around Pokrov. Dorozhny is the push towards Dobropilia. I don't expect too much from this. This is still not a very low priority, put it that way. Sofievka is part of the chain of operations to take the chain of settlements there, but it's not a priority right now. I think the Russians is putting everything into Minograd and Pokrov. I think this is the main action. This is a static line unless the push towards Serhievka becomes something. If this become a thing, then the strategy situation might change if the Russians go for Serhievka. But tentatively, I don't think so. I don't think so. So that's all from the Pokrov front. We move on to the Konstantinivka front. At the Konstantinivka front, as mentioned, Sofievka is mentioned. There is a shelling reported over at Krasnikut. Not very important. The Russians are still fighting at Rusinya. And then there is fighting reported at Klebanbek, Pleshievka, Ivanopilia, Konstantinivka, and Peteshne. So this is pretty routine. The Russians are still trying to penetrate into Konstantinivka while they're trying to establish a southern wall from the Pleshievka, Ivanopilia direction. There is no mention of Shebnivka, but the Russians are trying to close the gap, making sure that the Ukraine is not able to break into Shebnivka anymore. This is static line, so that's all from the Konstantinivka front. Moving further up north from this sector, in the Bakhmut front, Minkivka is mentioned. Not important. I don't think this is going to be serious, as I don't think the Russians is going to go for a direct push for Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. I don't think that's very helpful. It's more useful to go flank the rear of it. Moving into the Liman-Seversk front. Fighting is reported Srebyanka, Verkhomo-Kanyamsky, Zvenivka, and Perezhny. I got a feeling that the Russians no longer doing offensive in this sector here in Seversk, northern Seversk. The flanking operation through Dronivka moving to Zakitne. I don't think this is happening anymore. I think this is no more. This is no longer the operation. It looks like the Russians are now just flanking. Just creating the wall and establishing the wall, waiting for the Russian southern offensive to reach and create the southern wall, complete the southern wall. I think this is currently what's the main thing happening. So the main push is largely in the south. The situation at Yampil also seems to have died out. There's no reports of battle at Yampil. So I think the main action right now is this southern offensive. I think this is the most important one, as the Russians have already established a wall in like most of around Seversk. Half of Seversk frontier is now mainly surrounded by the Russians. We move further up north to the Oskil front. This is Oskil. At the Oskil front, fighting is reported at Druzilivka, Darilove, Dropisheve, Koloziazi, as well as Yampolivka. The Russians, as I mentioned, my hunch is correct. The Russians did not do an offensive. The mention of only Druzilivka just shows it. However, the Russians seem to be failing to capture Drobisheve, which is part of the operation to go to Sviatohursk. And this frontier or this front line around Koloziazi and Yampolivka, looks like this push to take out the salient here is no longer a thing. I think that the Russians, again, in this part as well, is happy with maintaining the front line, creating a kill zone of sort. No, that seems to be the case right now. So I mean, it takes way too long to do any advance. So I think this is just a static line. Moving further up to the Borova front. At the Borova front, fighting is reported at Shikivka, Borova, Novoplatonivka, and Bohuslavka. This is a don't expect too much. I have report this part long enough to expect that nothing is going to happen here in the Borova. And we move on to the Kupiansk front. At the Kupiansk front, fighting is reported at Kupiansk. Ukrainian forces counterattack from the south from Osinovo. Fighting is reported at Plichievka, and fighting reported in the eastern part of Petropavlivka. The main battle here is still going to be Kupiansk, but very, very little information. And I don't think that I think the Russians have slowed down the operations in the Kupiansk front. So let's wait for more intel and see whether we have any new updates regarding this. You can see that the general operation by the Russians seems to be concentrated in the Pokrov front and the HULYAIPOLE Komar front region, all in South Donetsk. So all the other places seems to be secondary in priority. Over in the Voreshna front, this is Voreshna. Ukrainian forces counterattack at Kutkivka towards Voreshna. There is Russian forces attack in Voreshanske, and this makes sense because all the Russians have already claimed advance. They already went past Odradny, Bolhivka, Kanyamka. So I think the only town left to really mention is Voreshanske, if not Koloziazny. So the push makes sense. Fighting being reported at Voreshanske makes sense. The operation is to straighten the front line along this area. So that's all. That is still very norm. No, it's pretty much the standard. We move on to the Kharkiv front. This is Kharkiv, and a happy birthday to you if your birthday today. Remember to press the like button and subscribe. And happy Sunday to you. And there is a mention of Rybankine. Rybankine is mentioned for the first time. So this is probably a diversion to draw Ukrainian attention away. Oops. Draw Ukrainian attention to that sector away from Volchansk region, because Russians are attacking Volchansk and Serenikove. This is still the main operation. This is just diversion. So and we move on to the last front line, the Sumy front. At the Sumy front, there is not much reporting. As mentioned, this is just a static line right now. The Russians have established a buffer zone and they are not interested to do much more. Fighting is reported at Saki as well as Vofine. Otherwise, that's about it. So this is the summary. Am I still recording? Yes. So for the day of 1361 for the 15th of November, that's it. I've done this recording twice, so it's tiring. That's it. Press the like button, and I'll see you guys in the next update. Bye guys. Bye guys. And the DPA open mic should be later, so check it out. Come and chit chat about Ukraine war or anything you want. There's so many things, crazy shit happening. There's Mexico. There's a Epstein case, where a lot of twists and turns, and there is of course Japan, blowing up the diplomatic situation with China. Yeah, come chit chat. Bye guys.